we as an appeals committee, we cannot legislate, and we are aware of all the legislation that is taking place, even by our own Western Cape government. So I look forward to that workshop so that we can benefit from it in making our decisions. But especially in the townships, Mr. Speaker, I regret taking up your time. The ward councillors, the PR councillors, we can see the murders of children and women, and it all relates to extra trading hours. So I respect the fact that they are grandfather rights. You are quite correct, but we have to take into account that it is not in the interest of the country, and it's a threat to our national security.
That's a good point to take to the workshop. I just think we must not generalize, because if you talk about grandfather rights and things like that, I want to take another example. I want to take the example of a lady that started a spaza shop, and over years she developed and it extended, and then it became a restaurant, and it became a shebeen, illegal alcohol and things like that. So how do you going to control illegal liquor sales and things like that? But now people and the family gets employed. The son gets employed later, his wife gets employed, and so on, and they carry on and they grow from there. These are oppressed people. They couldn't come out, they were not entitled to own bottle stores and things like that because of earlier law. I've been there, and I don't want to make the same mistakes that I've made those years. Now we come, which I call apartheid legislation, and we say, oh, okay, they must know the land use. That lady has been there for 20 years, growing up a family. They can't get work, they can't get jobs. Now she comes to you and says, appeals committee, assist me. There's new laws, and the new laws I experience is apartheid laws, because I wanted now to legally sell my liquor with the food, like your restaurant there in the Levy suburbs. How do we handle that? How do we talk? Do we understand? Do we see who is coming to us for assistance and things like that? So that we must also consider, and not the liquor board. They decide on the liquor licenses. We're talking about hours and things like that, and that's the only decision we take. But the hours, the right they have, and they employed people, and they were keeping up with those hours. Now we put a new law in place, and we say annually, so that we can clamp you down. Annually, the item comes here. The police says it's 100%. Everybody says it's 100%, but the sub-council says no. So why do you say no? Oh, I don't like the attitude of the manager of the bottle store. That is one of the things that was here in this forum before. You understand? Those are the things we must be aware of. Okay, but I think we will go to a workshop, and we will talk and we will interact there. I don't partake in workshops where you have a presenter and slideshows and side shows, and there's no interaction. We will go to a workshop where we will talk in this trend, and we will get experts to answer on certain issues to us. Okay. We will, Herman, maar jy het my nou onthou. Ek die uitgang vergeet, ek is al oor 70.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, let us move on. Okay, in front of us, application for extended liquor trading hours. Uncle Sam's Liquor Store. Uncle Sam is an old name here. And Phoenix Milnerton, the official to take us through this. Extended liquor trading hours for Sunday 11 till 6 o'clock of consumption. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. Betty Lido for City House. So this appeal goes around an application for sales of liquor off the premises for Sundays from 11 until 6 p.m. The applicant has got a valid liquor license and extended hours already granted from Monday to Saturday by this committee. There is a school within 110 metres and a creche within the same street. On page 835 of your agenda, you will see that the South African Police Services indicated that they found no contraventions of his liquor license conditions, but that they had received numerous community complaints, and as such did not support the application. Although SAPs do not in the report go into the details of the type of complaints that they have received, I have been informed that it mostly handles around brewery trucks coming into very narrow streets and then blocking the road. And this seems to be borne out by the objectors during the public participation phase of sub-council. In this instance, please see page 828 of your agenda. The sub-council this year did not grant extended hours based on the conditions of the temporary land use departure, which was approved on appeal by this committee in 2014. You will find the conditions under which the temporary land use departure was approved on page 790 of your agenda. The conditions did not make provision for sale of liquor on a Sunday. And on page 831, please see comment from town planning, which also refers to the fact that the conditions do not make provision for Sunday trading. The applicant is indicating that the sub-council is incorrect by turning down the application for Sunday hours, as extended liquor trading hours outside those imposed in the conditions in the temporary land use departure were already granted by this committee for Monday to Saturday without amendment of the temporary land use departure. I went onto the history of this particular, how this committee approved the the extended hours for Monday to Saturday, and it is in February this year under GENEP item 240217. And at that particular stage, the town planning indicated to us that PDM provide a zoning comment upon receipt of application of the liquor license. But once the license is approved, the liquor board in the subsequent application for extended of trading hours is submitted. There's no zoning development parameter that regulates the aspect, and therefore no further comment is required. So it's therefore my opinion that when deciding on temporary liquor hours from Monday to Saturday in February this year, that the committee didn't have all the information.
Okay, thank you. I've made yellow markings here on page 802. Let me just see why I've done that, because sometimes it happens in the evening. Yeah.
I also have a question related to.
Okay, questions to the official. That is the right area there. And as been pointed out, the police objection was against the trucks standing in the roads, but unfortunately I will reject that from my personal point of view, because those houses in that area have been laid out in the apartheid time, when the streets are very, very narrow, and it wasn't foreseen for trucks and development as we have today. Councillor Woodley, your question?
Yes, Chair. To the official, on page 802, and your recommendations that you initially support the application. On item C, you talk about the applicant must ensure that no sale of liquor is made directly to or via a third party to unemployed, stroke homeless persons occupying public open space in the vicinity of unestablished liquor stores. What comes up immediately to me, how do you monitor that? How do you impose a condition like that, and how do we define? Is this not a form of discrimination against people in the Constitution?
Please.
Thank you. Through the chair. So this particular report is the report that was drawn up by sub-council, and this is one of their recommendations that they made, and this would be very difficult for anybody to try and implement.
As the council points out, it's almost impossible to do that. Yeah. Okay. Questions? to the official. Can we get the applicant in and then questions there, and if necessary we can ask further questions to the official. Neil? Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You've been here before, sir. You're representing, you are Aubrey. Every time you're here, I'm battling with the pronouncement of this, and you must help me, please. It is Kashima. Kashima. Of McCullen's Attorneys. Welcome here this morning. You know the drill. You have 10 minutes to talk to the item. And I accept it's your client sitting next to you, Mr. Malloy. Yes, Mr. Malloy, I would like to introduce you to the committee. It is Councillor Hendricks on my far right, then Councillor Bazir, Councillor Kondeni, Councillor Mahangu, Councillor Boy, Councillor Moodley, and myself, Smith, with the committee, and the other people present is here to assist us in their professional capacity. If you want to, you can speak Xhosa. We've got an interpreter here, but we prefer Afrikaans. You're welcome, sir. Kuluma or
It's my time start.
Yeah, Kuluma.
Yeah. Thank you very much. The gist of our appeal is that when we applied for Sunday hours, the information that was contained in our application was that we realized that there was a petition attached from the immediate abutting neighbors. And there were no objections to the application. But what we realized is that, and from the papers that are before you will note that most of the subcommittees around Milnerton and the PR councillor is also in support of the application. And we didn't understand, that's why I was concerned about the procedure that was followed, because Councillor Joy McCarthy was not a councillor for the area anymore.
Yeah.
He was a councillor in another area. So I didn't understand the basis of my objections. And if you look at that discussion, I think it's on page 802 in the bundle of papers before you.
Yes.
You will note that all the important people in Councillor Gunde and Barons, everybody, they said they are recommending the application.
Yes.
But it's only Councillor McCarthy. And she didn't really give any reasons. And the reason that was given was, for example, if you look under the conditions, condition F, the applicant complied with that because even when it was issued with trading hours from Monday to Saturday, when they were extended, it was that he must only not use a bucket that is more than 3,500 kg. They did all that. And he's still doing that every time. And he's not even using his China bucket anymore. He's using another bucket to get his supplies. Mm. Now, the next question is that I realized that also from the planning side, there was an issue saying that we should have applied for the condition to be changed, because when the land use departure was issued, they didn't allow Sunday trading. I mean, we appeared before this committee before, where there was, in terms of the trading hours from Monday to Saturday, it was like saying until 5 o'clock. But this committee managed to extend the hours to about to 8 o'clock. I think the same can be done, because there are the control of undertakings that sell liquor to the bylaw, and it is in conflict if you look at it, because even the trading hours that were given then in terms of the municipal ordinance. They looked at that in terms of the